Hello everyone, thanks very much for joining us today and thanks very much for the organisers for having me. I am today going to talk about Scotland's AI strategy, give a bit of a general overview of how elements around trust and ethics and inclusion interact with the world of artificial intelligence. And you can find out more about our organisation and our work at scottishay.com. We do a lot of different things, and this session I'm going to concentrate more towards the sort of work that I've been doing, but if you're interested in Scotland's AI strategy, I'd say give it a read and see how you can get involved. So ethics in AI is something that I am pretty passionate about, and luckily I'm able to work within that realm in my day job. And in 2021, we launched Scotland's AI strategy. And to deliver the strategy, a partnership was made between the Data Lab, which is Scotland's innovation centre for data and AI, which is based in the University of Edinburgh, and the Scottish Government came together to deliver on the strategy. Now, since then, we have hosted an annual Scottish AI Summit, which we had the third summit was in Dynamic Earth in Edinburgh in March. And it was our biggest one yet, with 350 folk along to enjoy the day. And we will be having a series of summits now. We're scaling up to 4 a year, and we'll have across Aberdeen, Dundee and Glasgow throughout the year as well. So if you want to join the conversations on AI, there are the opportunities to do so. So the strategy's vision is for Scotland to become a leader in the development of trustworthy, ethical and inclusive AI. And that vision is to deliver a country that is fairer, greener, more prosperous and more outward looking. And we try to deal with the ethics of AI person interactions by considering the whole social system around. And an approach that we try to demystify AI for people and how they come to it. AI technologies often focus on the technology side of things, but we like to highlight the people that are designing and deploying AI systems and the people that those systems then impact. And health and social care already do a person-centred approach to things really well. So I imagine I'm not trying to convince the people in the room of the benefits of that approach, but our engagement is also inwards to the world of data and AI, where that conversation can sometimes be a bit more difficult. And we try to work at a meeting point of government, academia, industry and civil society, and be that collaboration point in Scotland for bringing them all together so that there can be mutual learning across the whole ecosystem. So we believe that a key part in an ethical relationship with AI is demystifying it, because the term AI in itself is pretty problematic. The same two letters are used to describe improving a chest CT scan for lung cancer. Same two letters are used to describe Skynet and Terminator. Same two letters are used to describe the writing assistant on your word processor. So this sort of huge understanding of what AI is or isn't means that AI is coming with a lot of baggage. And so when someone is coming along and seeing that AI is being used in our department as part of a research study, there's the potential that they might be understanding AI from another place than how everyone else is. So there's a lot of polarization around AI. There are snake oil salesmen whacking the letters AI on everything with a digital pulse, especially in the past 2 years or so, and claiming that it's a silver bullet to all solutions. And there's folk claiming that there's killer robot bloodbath coming to take your jobs. There's huge variance in how people understand AI. And we advocate for a more nuanced approach of recognising that there are real benefits and real efficiencies to be gained when using AI techniques and AI technologies. And there's also real risks and real harms, especially around potential for data bias and discrimination today, rather than potential existential risks like on the front pages of our newspapers. But this wider societal view is important to note, because some people's first interaction with AI is through media and science fiction. And so if a person who hasn't been involved in conversations around AI is coming in to try to understand it, they might have already formed an opinion based on what they've read or what they've previously seen at a media level. And that means there's the potential that we're not able to realise the real benefits, and also the potential we're not able to recognise pay the appropriate attention to the impact of AI harms. And the hype can have a wider effect. I was talking at an event last week, which my co-speaker was attending, and Dr. Alison Powell of LSE was telling us about hype around AI in healthcare in a country in Europe that has bought into the hype so much that it is influencing decisions made around the number of radiologists that are hired, where they've put the cart before the horse, and that they're saying there's going to be all these efficiency benefits of AI in the future, and so we do not need as many radiologists in the future. So this hype can have a real impact in how we deliver the benefits of AI, when actually training an AI system requires more radiologists to train the system. So the hype is important. There are other big issues in AI that folk may have an understanding of, or it might be colouring their view of things. So the impact on work and learning, and concerns about job displacement, the need for changing skills, with the impact on schools, is an interesting aspect to it that will be impacting how people understand those two letters, AI. And then there's also the challenges around regulation and the speed at which AI developments are happening. And also the fact that AI technologies are not one thing, and it is difficult to regulate something that is a clever way of dealing with data, especially when if it's difficult to define something, with AI being like a field of study of like hundreds of different ways of doing things, that regulation can become challenging. And there's also the environmental impact that comes up increasingly when we talk about AI, and that using AI technologies to make inferences, or using generative AI to like prompting generative AI to give you responses, it's not a net zero. It's not something that has no impact on the environment. It's not something that has no cost. It is something that requires data centres to be powered. It's something that requires data to be stored. It's something that requires computing power, and that comes from the burning of fossil fuels and the microchips that are so integral to our digital world. A lot of those rare earth metals, they're mined from the ground, and AI has exposure to extractive industries as well, and that can impact people's views on AI and their ethical considerations around AI. And then there's the narrow AI versus general AI discussion, where really what we're dealing with are very narrow AI systems, dealing with one specific task, but a lot of time folk might have an image of artificial general intelligence in their head, that science fiction image from earlier. So one way we can have a more nuanced discussion around AI is considering how we talk and communicate about it. I've already touched on the fact that AI isn't one thing. It's a wide field of study, and we get many different techniques and technologies and applications. And if you Google AI, you don't get a nuanced impression of how a machine learning algorithm is trained, or the back end of a large language model, or the data centers that are needed to facilitate all that power. If you Google AI, you find out that AI apparently is blue. It's a glowing brain, it's white robots, it is a robot with the animus outstretching its hand to grab the hand of a white guy in a business suit very often. And that can be problematic as well, because if there's all this baggage around AI and how we're communicating it is as this one glowing blue brain thing, then actually there's a need for better images of AI, and this is a project called Better Images of AI. So when you are talking about AI, one way you can sort of create a more ethical environment within which to deliver the benefits is to think about, how are you talking about it? Are you saying the AI? Or are you saying AI technologies? Are you using glowing blue brains? Or are you using ways in which people manipulate patterns, like how AI technologies actually work? Why do we use glowing blue brains to conjure up images of sentience when humans annotating data is a much more accurate image of AI? And are robot hands outstretched the best way to communicate how we manipulate data, or are there better ways? And how can we better represent how humans interact with AI beyond the glowing blue neon? And can we better communicate how AI technologies work in practice with the power of better images? So not only like centering the human is important, but there are ways in which we can communicate how AI technologies are working. Like this is a way to represent how decision tree techniques work. So Scotland's AI strategy is to become a leader in the development and use of trustworthy, ethical and inclusive AI. But how do we communicate that ethically? So we have developed a set of definitions as to what we mean by trustworthy, ethical and inclusive AI. So we mean that the use of AI should be transparent. Folks should be accountable for using AI technologies. There shouldn't be a, well, the computer says so approach. It should be disclosed. People should always know when they are interacting with an AI technology, or if a decision has been made that impacts that person's life. They should know that an AI technology was used to make that decision. Explainable is one that's maybe a bit more difficult, because as different AI systems, the more powerful they are, the less explainable they can become, and the known as like the black box way in which some AI systems work. Explainable can be difficult, and so we need to have that discussion. Is it more ethical to have a more powerful system that's less understandable? Or is it more ethical to have a really powerful system that we can't tell how it's coming to a decision? It should also be safe and secure and monitored and managed and protected from misuse. I think that in very narrow uses of AI, this might not be as relevant, but as the power of AI technologies grows, it will become more and more relevant. By ethical, we mean that The use of AI, the deployment of AI, should respect and reflect our values. Essentially, it should be used for good, and there's a lot of great things happening in Scotland about using AI for good. The use of AI in healthcare is, like, I think my co-speaker is going to talk a lot more closely about the use of AI in healthcare in particular, but the use of AI is happening for good here and now. It's not this futuristic idea, it is happening. It should also support our human rights, and that includes our rights to privacy. It should respect our human rights around our workers' rights and children's rights. And it should work to support our environment. So I was talking about the environmental impact of AI earlier. So how can we take the benefits, the efficiencies of AI and turn them to the climate crisis? And how can we make up for the power that is used to train AI by solving problems like that with it? It should support our communities, ways in which we use AI. It should bring us together as people in Scotland, and rather than be used to sort of lessen the bonds between communities. And a lot of that is most relevant around the use of generative AI, your ChatGPT and your image generation that folk will have an understanding of, maybe now more than more benign uses of AI. By inclusive, we mean it should involve everyone impacted. So that's where we come back to that people at its heart. On the first page of Scotland's AI strategy Scotland's AI strategy puts people at its heart. And that's what we mean. We mean everyone that's impacted should be involved. So within a healthcare setting, are the staff and clinicians and patients, are they all involved in this rollout of AI technologies? And it should work for underrepresented groups. Within data, there can be huge biases. If we're training systems with the data of a very biased and discriminatory world, there's the chance that we entrench those biases within our systems that we build. And it should be shaped by diverse voices, and we should be actively seeking to not exclude people. So we should be going out and looking for the people that aren't drawn to come on a Saturday afternoon to a discussion about bioethics and AI-person interactions. We should be looking as well for the people that don't want to talk about AI, and to find out why and how they understand it. So important to note too is that when we talk to people about AI, a lot of times for me, my job is to go out and talk to people about AI, and I talk with community groups and voluntary sector, third sector organisations a lot, to find out how they understand trustworthy, ethical and inclusive AI. And for them, these concepts overlap a lot. So what they consider an ethical AI-person interaction, for them it needs to be trustworthy then, or it needs to be inclusive. Or for it to be inclusive, it needs to be trustworthy. And so while for some these might be very distinct terms with very clear definitions, for others they're very interrelated. And one strand of how we try to put people at the heart of AI in Scotland is that we run engagement processes to find out what these words mean to them. And we try to find out how we can better involve marginalised groups and underrepresented groups in decisions that will impact them. So we are aligned to the concept of like the participation ladder. You might have seen this before in different lots of different industries and sectors aim to have a good relationship with our community that is based on rising control. And of course, some decisions maybe shouldn't be made by complete community controlled development. If you're getting new traffic lights put in on your street, you maybe don't want a huge town forum to to make that decision, maybe you just make that decision. But with new and cutting edge technologies, it's really important as part of change management to have like the people element of change management handled carefully and well. Else these potential benefits and efficiencies and time savers of AI technologies, they might be negated by people rejecting them. And so we need to make sure we're bringing folk along on that journey. And people's lived experience helping shape our use of AI technologies means we can solve the right problems. There's no point, and there's quite a culture within the world of data and AI to sometimes come up with amazing solutions and then seek out that problem that it can solve. But if we have a rising sort of empowerment of people to tell the data and AI world what the problems that need solved are, then we can sort of make that pipeline of innovation a lot more efficient in and of itself. What do you think when you hear AI is a question that I ask a lot of groups. And this is from a session in Ayrshire College I ran about 3 weeks ago. And what you'll see here, we've got robot, we've got futuristic, we've got scary, we've got opportunity, we've got threat, we've got change, we've got big brother, we've got amazing, we've got ethical dilemma. So there's a lot of uncertainty around AI amongst people. But beyond that uncertainty, people do have a vision for like what they think about AI. They might be uncertain about its potential, but they're pretty certain about what they'd like to see within this. So it's not a requirement to understand exactly like how AI works to know that you want technologies to have a positive impact on people or to be regulated or to be accessible. So we don't need people to be experts in AI to have an opinion about it. So narrowing in on just trust now to see how they intersect with the definitions. Here are some responses from different groups. On the left here, this is a session at the end of last year in Elgin with TSI Murray. And on the right, it's a session with the Scottish Communities Climate Action Network. So what would you need to know or feel or experience to think that AI was trustworthy? So we've got fact-checked, reliability, validity, authenticity, transparent methodology when using data, knowing where the power lies, transparency, governance, accountability standards, who is making it, regulations and standards, a human rating, access to the source code, open public conversations. This is what people think when they think, well, I could trust using AI in that circumstance. We've also got like fixed deepfake videos. So that's something I left in there where I understand it's not highly relevant to a healthcare setting, but this is how people are understanding AI. They're understanding it as interconnected with wider issues. So deepfake videos, these sort of fake images of real people, has become, like generative AI in general has become a big talking point amongst a wider conversation than the normal AI conversation. And it's become what a lot of people think when they hear AI. I was in this job before ChatGPT came out. I was in this job before image generators. And I've seen the difference in trying to convince people that like AI technology, like conversations around AI are something you should be involved in, because like the power of AI techniques is probably going to define how we interact with the world going forward. And then now, with the upsurge of generative AI, it's the other way about. We've got too much to do. There's it's really pierced the public consciousness in a way where now a lot of people's understanding of AI is generative AI, and there's sometimes that it's meant that being more communicative about how AI is not one thing has become more important. So this is the same two groups, but around ethical. So what would you need to know or feel or experience to think that AI was ethical? Understand the social impact, a rights-based approach. Climate impact, interestingly not from the group involved in climate work. Low carbon, again not from the group involved in climate work. Reducing inequalities, ensuring true sustainability, good governance, open-sourced and democratic, community-owned, positive outcomes, access to the training data. So one thing that we do is we run the Scottish AI Register, which is a new programme that we've developed, and it is a place for algorithms used in the public sector to make decisions, to live, and folk can see why the system is in place, how it works, and if you're so minded, you can find out about how it's trained, how the algorithm works on a more technical level. And on 1st of April, we mandated that all public sector uses of AI will be on that register in a phased approach over the years, starting with governmental uses of AI. And for inclusive, I believe everyone should have a voice, should be accessible, diverse people developing AI, should be responsive to different needs, should have good governance, diversity, no bias towards race, taking everyone into account, transparent ownership, diverse developers again, leaving no one out. So for that, I think that means like we need to talk wider to more people about AI. There's great work already being done on this human-centric approach to AI within the Health and Social Care Alliance. I don't know if any of you maybe are members of the Health and Social Care Alliance or you're aware of the Health and Social Care Alliance. But I'm a member of their Digital Citizens panel, where I'm lucky enough to get to go to their regular meetups and discuss all sorts of ethical dilemmas around digital transformation and artificial intelligence technologies in particular, from a very people-centric perspective. And their thoughts on AI combine like this great knowledge of technological change with lived experience of it. And we're very lucky to host a contingent of the Digital Citizens panel at the Scottish AI Summit this year. And one of their members helped run this workshop where we explored what does trustworthy look like to non-expert users. So not everyone that's going to be interacting with AI is going to be an expert in AI. And so it's important to understand how can we build this trust, this ethical approach for folk that aren't experts in AI. Because I think the more you know about AI, the more you understand it as maybe very reductive, but fancy spreadsheets. But actually, I think it can be difficult the more you know or the less you know coming to it because of all that baggage behind it. Last year, we also ran a session with the Health and Social Care Alliance at Discover Digital in Glasgow. Maybe you were there, I'm not sure. But the session explored some of the key questions we've been discussing through the lens of a health and social care setting. And participants were also asked their top recommendations for policymakers to ensure that our relationship with AI has a rights-based approach. And they believe that having accreditation systems with like third-party approval of the ethics behind how the AI was developed, centering humans within the development, accountability across the board, and a focus on risk assessment. So narrowing in a little bit at the Discover Digital session, we discussed what situations or scenarios would you find it easy to trust AI technologies and difficult to trust AI technologies. And this was with a group of mix of clinicians and patients and folk that work in the care sector. If there are clear guidelines, consent achieved, clarity around its use, find it easy to trust. If there's a human connection in the use to ensure it's trustworthy, easy to trust. Difficult to trust, if there's a possibility it can be used for commercial interest or impact or agenda. Difficult to trust if there's complicated terms and conditions. Sometimes it feels like they're designed to confuse citizens. Unethical, easy to think AI is ethical if it is person-centred with user support guides, if the use of AI to enable access to in-person services is effectively signposted, if there was trustworthy ethical branding or a peer review system. People would think it's easy to think that use of AI was ethical. Find it difficult if there aren't clear agreements around sharing information and anonymity. If big tech solutions have developed AI without involving and giving real consideration to the needs of equalities groups. And for inclusive, folk think it's easy to think AI is inclusive if the information is accessible, uses inclusive language in a format that people understand, and that the public needs to be properly informed, and clinicians have a role in ensuring that that happens. And the AI is sense tested in different communities with proportional representation across the Scottish population. And difficult to find that the use of AI is inclusive if data biases are ignored or not addressed, or where resource for inclusivity is coming from a profit-driven organisation. So if you remember the poster from before, that terms and conditions being complicated, a great project that's happening, but people want more than small print and QR codes to reach their terms and conditions. So, I really like this quote, I really like this image, I don't know why, where it's from the perspective of an academic. AI is like a peacock. From the front, it's magnificent and captivating, but from the back, it is often plain and unimpressive. And it is our job to look around the back and see the brown bits. So, where they believe like good academic practice is looking around the back of the peacock, I think there's also an ethical imperative to take the people who will be impacted by AI around the back of the peacock as well, so we can all appreciate the full scope of AI and its influence on our lives. And at the Scottish AI Alliance, we are slowly climbing these ladders. It's not a pursuit of perfection, and we are not doing it the best, but we are trying to have this slow relationship where we have this increasingly ethical relationship with AI in Scotland. And it's difficult sometimes to find all the levers to do that with such a wide landscape, but there's brilliant work being done across different universities and at a community level around that. In one project in particular, we're close to reaching this top. So within engagement, we try to work on like telling people about AI and understanding where they come from, and then working on real practical issues around AI with them, and the people in the communities we're working with coming up with solutions. But then to really close that engagement loop, we need to then put what these people think and say to decision makers. And that's probably the most difficult part of engagement. It's closing that loop. So this is a project we've been working on for 2 years, where we have been working with Alan Turing Institute and Children's Parliament on exploring children's rights and AI. We've worked with about 150 children so far, and we're exploring how can children's human rights be embedded within our relationship with AI technologies. We are building a future woven through with AI. But the children of today who are going to inherit this system that we've built aren't having a say in it. So what kind of future are we building? One where the concepts of privacy and truth no longer exist, or is it going to be one a little bit different? How do we ensure that AI technologies aren't detrimental to the children of Scotland thriving? So the first stage of the project involved a lot of AI literacy work with the young people. What do the kids know? What are the gaps? How can we give the children this information they need to make informed decisions around AI? And that stage was led by the Alan Turing Institute, and it culminated in the children hosting a panel at the Scottish AI Summit 2023 at the University of Strathclyde, where they talked to our delegates, about 100 folk, about their experience in the project. And at the end of stage one, the children had decided on the issues they wanted to explore more deeply over the next year. And they thought these are the most pressing issues. After a year of understanding what AI is and what it isn't, they thought that they wanted to explore fairness and bias, safety and security, learning about AI and AI in education. And we worked with the kids in Leith, so one of our primary schools is in Leith, about how will AI affect our education and change it. We worked with University of Edinburgh's Murray House, and the children helped with the development of AI-powered maths app. And children thought, remember to include others. A downside is that an AI system might not plan fun lessons. That might make the children bored. But also a realisation, AI could make teachers' jobs easier because it helps them to make lessons. We worked with the West of Scotland Innovation Hub on exploring how can their AI technology for monitoring seizures ensure that it protects children's rights. So this is a project they're working on where they use parents are able to video when a child or young person is having a seizure, and an AI system creates like a wireframe of the movements of the body, so that rather than a parent describing what they've seen, they have a record that they can analyse the data of. And the children input to the development stage of the project and explored how to best produce an explainer and permission form for the children for that system. Children thought, I wouldn't trust my health to be looked after by an AI. I wouldn't mind so long as the AI technology was properly trained. If it didn't work, I'd just go see a human doctor. And children should decide if they want their voices in the data set. We worked in Easter House with digital skills education, exploring how can adults help children understand what happens with their data. And the children created a private data, public data framework to help shape a digital skills education course. And the children in there update terms and policies to make sure AI is better. Someone's saying age restrictions on YouTube, shooting himself in the foot there. But ask our permission before sharing our data. And we work with the Alan Turing Institute again and Silicon Croft and Shetland to discuss what sort of curriculum should there be around artificial intelligence. Children would like to learn about AI the fun way. And then children once again were plenary guests at this year's Scottish AI Summit, where they got to question, got to interrogate the Chief Data Officer at the Scottish Government and the Chair of the Scottish AI Alliance in front of our 350 guests. And it was really good fun for all the adults involved, seeing the children put the Chief Data Officer to task. And then just last week, we closed the loop. We brought the children together with folk from Public Health Scotland, Education Scotland, Digital Directorate at the Government, Education Directorate at the Government, West of Scotland Innovation Hub, different universities, for children, the AI team we call them, to share their recommendations for adults around AI, which we are now sharing more widely in Scotland. Children have the right to be included. Lots of different people should be involved in the development of AI. There should be rules about how much and what data companies are allowed to gather about children. Companies should not use children's data to train AI systems without children being asked. Now, if I can leave you with, I'm going to discuss ethical dilemmas today. I think it's a huge ethical dilemma. How can we ensure that children's rights have a place within these conversations? But often The most vulnerable in society are the most left out of conversations that really impact them. Children have more rights than us as adults, and they have the right to learn and the right to be safe and the right to be listened to seriously. And as of next month, that's actionable law. They have those rights under. So I'd encourage you to talk to children about data and AI and consider it within your ethical decisions around developing and delivering AI solutions. It will help Scotland become a leader in the development of trustworthy, ethical and inclusive AI. So our work is based around the idea that we should highlight humans at the centre of AI to have an ethical relationship with technologies, and that's why I've wanted to highlight the voices and what people think about AI, and that's how we sort of create this ethical future. And by sort of growing a process of active listening with the communities of Scotland, by discovering what they think about AI, we can signpost them towards futures that are more socially sustainable, and they can help steer that journey. And it can reduce that uncertainty that was pretty clear at the start around AI by having this very deliberative approach to talking to people about these technologies. Thank you very much for your time today. You can find out more about us, ScottishAI.com. We've got a lot of URLs. You can get to them all via ScottishAI.com, so don't worry about that. But we've got our Scottish AI Playbook, which is resources around developing your own AI governance for organisations, or just like having a wee look into what other folk are doing. We run Scottish AI Summits. Our next one is in Aberdeen on the 20th of February. 20th of June. We run the Scottish AI Register, where there will be increasingly more public sector uses of AI that join the register. You can read the strategy itself. We also run an online learning course which is built around demystifying AI at livingwithai.me. But thank you very much for having me, and I welcome any questions.